السلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. We start off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending our peace and blessings upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with beneficial knowledge and understanding and wisdom. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with sincerity in all our actions and all our sayings. We renew our intentions right now. All of us. We sit and we speak to ourselves and we renew our intentions and we say, Ya Allah, we are here for your sake and we're here to come closer to you, O Allah, and we're here to come closer to the Quran, and we only want your pleasure, O Allah, and we want to come closer to your book. We want to come closer to Surah Al-Qasas. We want to come closer to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, and we want to draw closer or nearer or come closer to anything that brings us closer to you, O Allah. And that's why we always ask Allah to grant us knowledge that's beneficial, as we call it beneficial knowledge, ilm al-nafi'. Because beneficial knowledge is a knowledge that changes the state of your heart. It increases you in taqwa, and it brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah to never deprive us of beneficial knowledge. We ask Allah to never deprive us of the Masjid. We ask Allah to never deprive us of the Quran. We ask Allah to never deprive us of the wisdoms of the Quran. We ask Allah to never deprive us of the love of Musa alayhi salam and all the prophets. We ask Allah to make the love for them strong in our hearts. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be with our brothers and sisters in Gaza and to aid them over their oppressors, and to be with our brothers and sisters in Sudan and to grant them peace, and to be with our brothers and sisters all around the world. We ask Allah to make the Quran the spring of our hearts and our comprehension. We ask Allah to lighten up our vision with the light of the Quran, and to lighten up our hearing with the light of the Quran, and to lighten up our comprehension with the light of the Quran. We ask Allah to illuminate our graves when we pass away with the light of the Quran, and we ask Allah to expand our graves after we pass away with the blessings of the Quran, and we ask Allah to raise us in stations and status in the hereafter with the rise of the Quran. With that being said, my dear brothers and sisters, we continue our Wednesday night tafsir series, and we are in the beautiful blessed surah known as Surah Al-Qasas. We said Surah Al-Qasas is named, or it's called Surah Al-Qasas, because of the ayah in it where Musa alayhi salam goes to the pious man of Madian and he tells him what he went through. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَصَ قَالَ لَا تَخَفْ نَجَوْتَ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And when Musa came to him and he informed him of his story, his entire story, of his stories, the man responded to Musa and he said, لا تخف. He says, do not be worried, do not be saddened. نجوت من القوم الظالمين. You have indeed been saved from the oppressive people. You have indeed been saved from the people who gave you any type of hardship. And that ayah is in today's lesson, inshallah. Because we left off in the last class speaking about Musa alayhi salam becoming a prophet and growing up. A quick recap of where we reached. We started off, of course, with the onset of the story, talking about Musa as a baby. Musa alayhi salam is born to a mother from the Israelites, Bani Israel, at a time where Fir'aun and his people and his ministers and his evil people are killing all the baby boys. This is the setting where Musa is born in ancient Egypt. And there's someone called a Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh is a title of the evil oppressive ruler of Musa alayhi salam's timing. And he was killing all the baby boys because of a dream he had. Musa was raised eventually in the palace of the Pharaoh. The palace of Pharaoh is where Musa alayhi salam was eventually raised. Because Musa alayhi salam's mother cast him into the Nile River. Because Musa alayhi salam's mother cast him in the Nile River as a command from Allah. Allah commanded her to do so. And it goes against logic if you're scared for your child to throw him into the river. But Allah commands her to do this, and this is how He preserves Musa. And Allah promises Musa's mother that we will return him to you. إِنَّا رَادُوهُ إِلَيْكِ وَجَعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. We will return him to you, and we will make him from the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He fulfills His promise as He makes the breast milk of every single woman haram on Musa alayhi salam, so he only accepts the breast milk of his mother. So he only accepts the breast milk of his mother. So the sister of Musa alayhi salam, she follows the cradle and the basket and it washes up on Pharaoh's palace. They take in baby Musa and he refuses to drink breast milk from any woman. So the sister of Musa alayhi salam goes out to them and recommends someone that she knows that will breastfeed him, and that's the mother. So Allah returns him to the mother. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returns Musa alayhi salam. Get off your phone. Get off your phone. Respect the class. If you need to go on your phone as an emergency, go on your phone. Other than that, please respect the class. We're talking about Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he returns Musa alayhi salam to his mother. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he returns Musa alayhi salam to his mother in a miraculous way. He makes breast milk haram on him from anyone else but his mother. And that way, Allah keeps his promise to his mother. Then Musa alayhi salam, we talked about in the last class. And Surah Al-Qasas is interesting. Because if you open Surah Al-Qasas, you see it in the Quran, it's like every scene shifting on every page. I think the brother that was memorizing it, he would notice this. The first full page is one full scene. The first full page, وَنُمَكِّنِ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى أُمِّ مُوسَى, is the baby Musa. The first one, it's so beautiful. Like the whole page is one scene. It's baby Moses and the story of baby Musa alayhi salam. And the second full page, we covered it in the last class. It's adult Musa / Musa in the palace of the Pharaoh. And today's full class is another full page and it's another scene. It's all different scenes of his life. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. The whole page is just another scene and another scene and another scene. So last class was the scene of Musa alayhi salam being raised in the palace of Pharaoh. Musa was known as Musa, the son of the Pharaoh. He was known and referred to as Musa, the son of the Pharaoh. And Musa alayhi salam used to dress with the clothing of the Pharaoh. And he used to ride in the procession of the Pharaoh. He used to ride the same horses as the Pharaoh because he was like his son. He was raised by him. So Musa alayhi salam, as he's growing up, as Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam is growing up throughout his life, the scholars of tafsir, they say that he was realizing that this religion that the Pharaoh is on is not right. And that he knew, or he had an innate natural disposition and understanding that Allah is one, etc., as all prophets and messengers have, and he was a good person. So as he's growing up, he has distaste and displeasure in his heart. He does not like what the Pharaoh, and his people are doing. He's against them. He distastes what they're doing in his heart. And he has a natural inclination to the truth. Yeah? And we said in the last class that all prophets and messengers, it's impossible for any prophet and messenger to have any history of idol worship in them, or any type of worship other than the worship of Allah. Allah creates them and He grants them a natural disposition. So he's raised in this palace, and they say he's raised up until he's about 40 years old, his whole life basically, in the palace of Pharaoh, referred to as Moses, the son of Pharaoh. As he's growing up, he also realizes that he's not from the Pharaoh and that he's adopted. I guess naturally, he will naturally realize that he looks like the people that are being slapped and beat to work, and he doesn't look like the Pharaoh. His complexion is probably different, and then probably his mom or the mother, his caretaker, Asya, what's that called? His foster mother, probably told him, "Oh, you washed up on our doorstep a couple years ago. You're actually from the Israelites." So he now knows that he's an Israelite and he's not an Egyptian. And I'm going to use the word Coptic a lot because the Coptic Egyptians are the historical Egyptians. I don't mean Coptic Christian. Right now, when we say I go to Rutgers, Newark, and I have Coptic friends, I automatically understand that you have Christian Egyptian friends. The word Coptic now refers to the Coptic Orthodox Church. That's not what I'm talking about in here. There was no church, Coptic Orthodox Church at the time of Musa and the Pharaoh. There was no Baba Shnoda yet. There was no Coptic Orthodox Church yet at the time of Musa. Christianity did not happen yet. Musa was before Isa alayhi salam. But Coptic is the word of historical Egyptians. The historical Egyptian, the people of the land of Egypt, the Egyptians are Copts. They're Copts, aka Coptics. So Egypt has Coptic Egyptians. Pharaoh and his people are from the Coptic Egyptians. Musa and his people are from what? Huh? Coptic what? No, Coptic what, brother? Just from Bani Israel. Musa and his people were just Bani Israel, no Coptic, nothing. We said that Bani Israel was not originally from Egypt. Guys, pay attention to this, please. We said that Bani Israel was not originally from Egypt. So we want to understand why Bani Israel were in Egypt. What brought them to Egypt? What brought the people of Israel or the children of Israel? And Israel, we said, is Yaqub alayhi salam. Yaqub's name is Israel, not Israel of today. Bani Israel, the sons and the progeny and the offspring of Yaqub. What brought them to Egypt? That's not where they're from. Does anyone remember? What brought them to Egypt? I said it in this class always. What brought them to Egypt? Layth, come up here, please, if you don't mind. Come up here. Sanad, come up here. Come to the front. You could come to the front then as well. You're a talib ilm, come to the front. Brother, you have a back problem? Come to the front, you. Yeah. No, I don't mean like that, but you're very healthy looking. They could stay on the wall. Yeah. Huh? Awais al-Qarni, yallah. Brother, yeah, go. Yeah, amazing. Jazakallah khair, brother. He's in the back, but he's in the front. He's physically in the back, but wallah, he's in the front. How did you know that? From me or if no? Because you didn't come to that class. Common sense. MashaAllah. So, Bani Israel, the children of Yaqub, where should they be? Where Yaqub was from? Where was Yaqub from? Palestine, thank you. Who said that? Good job. Yeah, good job. So, what brought them to Egypt? We said Joseph, king of dreams, Yusuf alayhi salam. We talked about Yusuf for 6 months in this masjid because we went over his surah in detail. Yusuf alayhi salam, Joseph, we like to call him Joseph, king of dreams, because he's the king of dream interpretation. There is a Christian movie that came out when I was young, and they called it Joseph, king of dreams. But we could use it too. We're Muslim. Joseph is the king of dreams. He is the king of dream interpretations. It's a very good production. It's a cartoon. Shaykh, is it allowed to have a prophet? I don't know, brother. I was young. I was watching a cartoon. I don't know. It was a nice cartoon. I loved it. But I loved it a lot. I learned a lot from Joseph, king of dreams, and there was another one called Moses something something. I forgot. Moses something something. One of them was Musa. One of them was Yusuf. Give or take, the Christian narrative is very similar to the Muslim story. It's very similar. And it was a very good production. And it was made by some Christian group to display the story of Musa and the story of Yusuf. You could look it up. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he was thrown into a well by his brothers. They betrayed him. He eventually was brought by a caravan that was going to Misr. وقال الذي اشتراه من مصر لامرأته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وكذلك كدنا ليوسف. Right? Yusuf was thrown into a well by his brothers, as Allah tells us, and then a caravan was passing by. They were originally from Egypt. God knows where the well was, probably somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula in the desert. They took him in. They sold him to a guy from Egypt. Coptic Egypt, not Coptic Christian, Coptic Egyptian, old school Egypt. Yusuf's time period was much before Musa's time period. Yusuf's time period, the ruler of Egypt was called وَقَالَ الْمَلَكِ ائْتُونِي بِهِ أَسْتَخْلِصْهُ لِنَفْسِي. The ruler of Egypt at the time of Joseph was known as the king. The ruler of Egypt at the time of Moses was known as وَقَالَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Right? Fir'aun. Same ultimate ruler, but this shows different time periods have different titles for the ultimate ruler. They say that this is a miracle of the Quran. They say that the reference in Surah Yusuf as the ruler, as the king, and the reference of Fir'aun as the ultimate ruler in the story of Musa is a miracle of the Quran, because how would the Prophet Muhammad know that they had two different titles? How would the Prophet Muhammad know that they had two different titles? So Yusuf alayhi salam was sent to Egypt, and his family come back and forth. His family come back and forth. And the end of Yusuf's story, and they ultimately set up life in Egypt. They reside in Egypt as Yusuf was in charge. In the last ending of the story, when they all bowed down to him, and they remained in Egypt. So Bani Israel, the Israelites, they're called the Israelites because it's an attribution to Yaqub. They are the progeny of Yaqub. So it's Yusuf and his 11 brothers. Those are what they call in Christendom the 12 tribes of Israel. I don't know if you ever heard of this, the 12 tribes of Israel. So Bani Israel, their origin is Yaqub and his sons. They lived in Egypt now. Then they had something called offspring and descendants. They say that they lost the plot and they were far from Allah. فَصَلَّةَ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَيْهِمْ. They say that they lost the plot and they were far from Allah, and they stopped commanding the good and forbidding the evil, meaning they weren't practicing their true religion. So Allah caused the Pharaoh and his people, Allah used the Pharaoh as a mechanism to punish them because they were far from God. So Bani Israel starts getting punished by the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is using them for labor. The Pharaoh is using the men for hard work and oppressing them. Fir'aun is evil, and he's oppressing them. And they have ghettos and slums that were just for the Israelites. So now, that's why Bani Israel is in Egypt. That's how they got there. So we said that Musa begins to realize that he is from the Israelites. He begins to, and he knows that his people follow the religion of God, the one God. And he knows that his people worship God, the one God, etc., etc. He is not comfortable with Pharaoh and his extravagance and his fornication and his alcohol and his lottery. He's not comfortable with it. He doesn't like it. It doesn't settle right in his stomach. As any prophet or any believer would not settle right in their stomach, correct? So now Musa is going through some thought process and this, that. One day he goes out, وَدَخَلَ الْمَدِينَةِ عَلَى حِينِ غَفْلَةٍ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. That's where we were last class. Recap, last class. He entered the city at a time where people were heedless. We said the scholars had 12 interpretations of what this word means, a time of heedlessness. We say the strongest opinion is that it was at the time of Dhuhr, because at Dhuhr, in hot climates and in hot environments, they do something called nap time. You ever went to preschool, kindergarten? Yeah, nap time, right? They had nap time in hot climates, such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia. They have something called nap time. It's called qaylula. That nap that they do in the hot climates, it remained and it became a sunnah in Islam, because the Prophet says that, he used to nap at Dhuhr. The Prophet used to nap. Why? Because it's when the sun is the hottest. Because it's when the sun is the hottest. So they would nap at Dhuhr time. So they say that he entered the city at around Dhuhr timing, and that's when he saw in the last class, فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقَتَتِلَانِ. Right? He saw two people fighting and they had an encounter. We also said from this ayah that when it says, and Musa entered the city, it means he did not live in the city, because it would have said that he came out from his house. No, it says, but he entered the city, meaning he didn't live in downtown Patterson, he lived in Wayne. Because Wayne is nice and expensive and it has mansions, right? Or he lived in Paramus, wherever. He lived outside of the city. And then he entered the city. And as he entered the city, he finds two people fighting. One person from his people, as Allah describes it, and one person from his enemy. It's very interesting. Wallahi, Allah calls the Egyptian his enemy, but he's raised in the palace of the Pharaoh. And so what this ayah tells us indirectly, tells us is that Musa knew what was up. Yeah, Musa knew what was up. He knew that they were bad. He was against what they did. They were his enemies in his heart, even if they used to obey his commands, because he's Musa, the son of the Pharaoh. So he went to go help the Israelite cousin, right? They're related somehow, right? They're all from the tribes of Israel. Over the Egyptian man. فَوَكَزَهُ مُوسَى فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ. Musa accidentally killed him. Musa was a strong man. Musa accidentally killed him. He didn't mean to kill him. And we said in detail, that's what happened in the last class. That's where we are today. He accidentally killed him. The next day he saw the same guy fighting another guy, etc. And then Musa was told, وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ. As Allah says, وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا مُوسَى إِنَّ الْمَلَأَ يَأْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ لَيَقْتُلُوكَ فَاخْرُجْ إِنِّي لَكَ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. Remember the second day? The first day he killed someone and he got scared and he went back home. No one caught him. There was no CCTV. He got away. The next day, Musa was paranoid because he committed murder by accident, right? He was paranoid. And the next day, so Musa comes out the next day, day number 2, day after the day he killed someone. And he's cautiously walking around the city, but no one knows he did it. No one knows it was him. But Channel 7, Channel 9, everyone's talking about someone got killed from the people of the Pharaoh. And the scholars differ who exactly the man was that was killed. Some say he was the banker. Some say he was the banker of the Pharaoh. And some say he was the cake maker. No, I'm just joking. The chef. Some say he was a banker. Some say he was a guy that worked for the Pharaoh in his palace. It was a big deal. A guy from the palace got killed. It was all over the news. So Musa alayhi salam, he's worried. And then the next day when he goes out, he sees that same Egyptian guy, the same Hebrew guy. He sees the same Israelite, the same guy fighting another guy. So the guy calls him for help. He screams. He goes, Musa, come help me. And Musa goes and he tells him, what do you mean come help me? You're just a troublemaker. What are you talking about? Like what? What? So Musa starts to think all of this stuff like, oh my God, maybe this guy was the guy that was wrong the day before and I killed the guy unjustly, and Musa's thinking everything. He goes, what do you mean? You're just a troublemaker. But then the next ayah says, then Musa felt the urge to go and help him. So Musa gave in due to his heat and his hotness and he's manly. So he went to help him anyway. At first he told him off, but he went to go help him anyway. When he went to go help him anyway, the guy ratted him out and he snitched him out. He goes, oh, do you want to just kill me like you killed someone? Because he got scared that he was coming to hit him. You understand this? The Hebrew guy got scared. He thought Musa was coming to strike him, but he wasn't. He was going to help him against the other guy. So because he got scared, he has something called sabaq al-lisan. He got scared and he said something quickly. He said, oh Musa, do you want to kill me? كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس أتريد أن تقتلني كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس إن تريد إلا أن تكون جبارا في الأرض. He goes, oh Musa, you want to kill me like you killed someone yesterday? Look at this guy, man. What a bad guy, man. Wallahi, he ruined everything. But he didn't ruin anything. Wallahi, he didn't ruin anything. It was all divine plan from Allah. It's all qadr. Allah wants to use this guy, this coward, this rat, this snitch. He wants to use him to make Musa who he is. Right? Right? It's all qadr, right? At the end of the day. So when that happens, Musa looks at him, and the other Egyptian guy looks at him, and everyone is like, oh, it's him. He killed the guy. So now the identity of the person who committed accidental manslaughter the day before is shown. It's Musa. So that Egyptian man that was going to get hit by Musa goes and runs where? To the palace. Why does he go run to the palace? Because he's going to tell them what's up now. He goes, oh, it was Musa that killed him. It was Musa that killed the banker. It was Musa that killed Mr. Riba, right? So he goes. Now Musa, at this point in time, is scared because now he's going to get caught. His identity is known. That's when the last ayah that we read in the last class. The last ayah we read is that a man came from the far end of the city. Yas'a. He was rushing to Musa. قال يا موسى إن الملأ يأتمرون بك ليقتلوك. He goes, oh, the people of the Pharaoh, the ministers are getting together to kill you. فَخْرُجْ إِنِّي لَكَ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. He goes, get out of here, Moses. Get out of here. Indeed, I am a true advisor to you. I am a sincere advisor to you. Right? فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبْ. Yeah? The last ayah was what? فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبْ قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. That's where we left off. So he left the city, aka he left ancient Egypt. He left Egypt خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبْ, scared and in a mode of anticipation. يَتَرَقَّبْ, تَرَقَّبَ, to means to anticipate something. Anticipating getting caught. So he left in fear and anticipation, scared, anxiety, disheveled, no money, no food, no nothing. قال رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. As he's running out, scared, he goes, oh Allah, please save me. Ya Allah, please save me from al-qawm al-zalimin, these oppressive people. So this man that came to save him, the guy that came running from the palace, he was an Egyptian man. The guy that warned Musa and said, get out, they're coming to kill you. He was an Egyptian man. And we said in the last class that the scholars say they differ on who he is as they differ on anyone who Allah does not mention explicitly. Usually they differ on his identity. It makes sense because God does not mention him explicitly, so then they have opinions. We said that the strongest opinion was that he was the believing man from the people of the Pharaoh, as mentioned in Surah Ghafir. وَقَالَ رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَكْتُمُ إِيمَانُهُ. Yeah, there was a believing man in Surah Ghafir. They say that believing man was Pharaoh's cousin. He was his believing cousin. He had belief in his heart, right? So he warns Musa, and Musa runs out. Now where does Musa go? That's today's class. It was titled Musa Finds a Home. Why does Musa find a home? Why does Musa find a home? Why does Musa find a home? Because Musa is homeless right now. Moses, is homeless right now. He had a home. He had Xbox 360. He had air condition. He had protein shakes. He had gym memberships. He had Lamborghinis, Ferraris. I'm so serious, by the way. The he lived with the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh probably had 5 mansions with 5 wives. God, they don't have Sharia in one. The Pharaoh was extravagant in everything. And this was, when you're toxic and you're extravagant and you're a multimillionaire, you have no time to raise the kid that you have. So you just throw money on him thinking that's going to make things better. Musa was decked out with gold. They say he used to wear gold like Pharaoh used to wear gold. He used to wear the gold plates that Pharaoh used to wear. So Musa alayhi salam, it's a beautiful thing if you think about it, honestly. Because he's very old now. Musa was raised living a certain way. He had a certain lifestyle. But even the person who was raised living a certain way, and the person that has a certain amount of riches in dunya, he'll sacrifice all of that. He'll sacrifice all of that to worship Allah. A person of sincere belief, he'll sacrifice dunya 100,000 times to have Quran in his life. The mu'min, the believer, if he's granted 2 options, option number 1, every single woman you ever wanted in the world, every single money you want, every single luxury you want, and I say this because these are the luxuries that men have. Anything you want on one side, easy life. And on the but here you have no Quran. You're not allowed to have the Quran with you. You can't read Quran. And the other side is I'll take you to a remote island. You will have nothing in dunya. You'll be poor, but you'll have the Quran with you. Any believer that has a badr of iman, he'll take the Quran. He'll take the Quran because Quran is richness. This is not richness. This is poverty. Having dunya and money without Allah is poverty. It's depression. It's anxiety. What are you going to do with your money? How far does money go? Go ask the kings and the sons of the kings. Go ask the princes of the world. Go ask the people who did every haram in the world how content and how happy they are. They're all miserable. Contentment and happiness is through iman in Allah. Only. Musa alayhi salam, he left off his palace lifestyle and he ran outside of the city, running away from the Pharaoh, aka Shaitan, aka bad energy, aka negative things, and he's running toward Allah now. Like that's what this means. He's running toward Allah. He's running toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he leaves. And he says, وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ قَالَ عَسَى رَبِّي أَن يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. So now he goes out and he starts to run in a certain direction. Musa alayhi salam, he goes out and he starts to run in a certain direction. Why do I say that? Because the Quran tells us that. تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ. And when Musa alayhi salam made his way towards this place called Madyan. And when Musa alayhi salam, he made his way in the direction of Madyan. So now we know where he went and which way he was headed. Ancient Egypt, or the city of Memphis where he was based, is off the Nile, somewhere in Egypt. He could have went toward Libya. Libya is not near Madyan. Libya is the other way. وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ الْمَغْرِبِ or Maghrib al-Arab. He didn't go there. It could have said وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ Sudan. Sudan is south of Egypt. No, it said تِلْقَاءَ Madyan. So now we have a specific location. A specific location. You know the scholars, they leave off nothing. The scholars of tafsir, they leave off nothing. They mention everything. They say, why does he run toward Madyan? Because if you're reading the Quran, you don't think of it. You just think, oh, he went to Madyan. God knows why. Like Allahu Alam. Maybe he just was scared and he ran out and it happened to be Madyan. They say no. They say there's two underlying reasons. There's two main reasons why he ran toward Madyan. Subhanallah. So they say there's two main reasons. The first reason that they said is it's away from the Pharaoh's reach. That's kind of common sense. Like he doesn't want to be in the reach of the Pharaoh. So it's away from the Pharaoh's reach. And they also say that Madyan is distant family ties. There are distant family ties between the Israelites, yani Musa and his people, and the people of Madyan. Because Madyan, they say, is the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam, from his son Midian or Madyan. They say that Ibrahim alayhi salam had a son later on called Madyan, and these were his descendants, which means that they're distant relatives from the Israelites because they are the descendants of Yaqub ibn Ishaq ibn Ibrahim alayhi salam. Yeah, so there was something I wanted to mention here. We said this multiple times in this class. We said that this surah was revealed when the Prophet was in the mode of hijrah. Surah Al-Qasas was revealed on the heart of the Prophet when he was in the mode of making hijrah. And more specifically when he jumped out of Ghar Thawr, which is the cave of the bull. So it was a tumultuous timing during the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad. Him and Sayyidina Abu Bakr are together and they are in the mode of hijrah. Musa alayhi salam in Surah Al-Qasas, he has a hijrah. Musa had a hijrah in his life. His hijrah was from Egypt to Madyan. And the Prophet had a hijrah from Mecca to Medina. So Allah sends down the story of Musa. It's like, wallahi, it's phenomenal. Because the parallel is too strong. It's too much of it. Like it's the exact same scenario. The Prophet was scared. He didn't know what was going to happen to him in the future. He did not know. And Musa was scared and he did not know what was going to happen to him. Yeah, but they both had something called tawakkul ala Allah. They had reliance upon Allah. So God says, and when he made his way toward Madyan, he said, I trust my Lord will guide me to the right way. I trust my Lord will guide me. Musa makes a dua. He goes, Asa an yahdiyani Rabbi sawa' as-sabil. He goes, perhaps Allah will grant me the sawa' as-sabil. Sawa' as-sabil can be figurative and spiritual, and it could be in real life like a way in terms of guidance, in terms of maps, like a direction. Sawa' as-sabil means the most upright path. Meaning, if he's going to Madyan, he doesn't want to take a long way. He wants to take a short way. He doesn't know how to get there. Musa does not know the way. But sawa' as-sabil also means the most upright path in terms of guidance to Allah. In terms of guidance to Allah, it means both. Over here, the word asa an yahdiyani Rabbi, perhaps my Lord. Asa is min af'al al-muqarabah. In the Arabic language, this word asa means perhaps. The scholars of tafsir, they say it's impossible for Musa to say it with that meaning. So we say it does not mean that here, because Musa is a prophet. And he has something called yaqinu billah. He has something called al-yaqinu billah. Musa is a prophet. His iman is high level, brother. He has something called certainty in his belief with Allah. So if he says asa an yahdini, which means maybe Allah will, he doesn't mean maybe. This is an important point because the word here is maybe. It doesn't mean maybe in the right of Musa, because he knows Allah will guide him to the best path. He knows that. So I thought that was an interesting I thought that was an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting, what? Connection? No. No. I thought that was an interesting point. That was an interesting point, yes. I thought that was an interesting point. Do we understand what I was trying to say? Because asa means maybe, but he doesn't mean maybe. He just says, Allah will guide me to the best path. So they say he went to Madian for two reasons. Because it was away from the Pharaoh's rule. He would not be in the Pharaoh's rule. And also because the people of Madian were the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam as well. They say that Madian was named after Midian, the son of Prophet Abraham. Musa left Egypt in fear, without a riding animal, without shoes, and without provisions. As I mentioned, Musa alayhi salam, he rushed out of Egypt. When you rush out of somewhere, when you're rushing, if your house is on fire, may Allah have mercy on all of those who pass away, you know. If your house is on fire, I do believe you'd want to get the money under your bed. I do believe that. Or you'd want to get the most important valuables that you have in the house. I do believe that. But if the fire is so bad, you're going to run out because your life is more important than everything. Do you understand the scenario? If there's a bad scenario, if someone has a gun to your head and you have only 3 seconds to run, you're going to run without taking anything with you. So Musa alayhi salam, he ran out. Musa alayhi salam, he ran out and he had no time to prepare. He had no self-prep. He just ran out to save his life. So they say that he ran out with no shoes even. They say he didn't have sandals on. He had no food and he had no type of provisions with him. And they say that the distance between Egypt and Madian is 8 days, is an 8-day journey on foot. It makes perfect sense. Madian is current day Palestine, southern part of Palestine, right? And it is said that he survived. It said in this journey he survived by eating the leaves of trees, and that he walked until the soles of his feet wore away. So it was a difficult journey. He makes dua for Allah to guide him. He makes dua for Allah to guide him the best way, meaning the best way in terms of directions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua. And he guided Musa with the best physical way to Madian. And he also guided Musa to prophecy and to be with Allah. Right? And he also guided Musa the best spiritual way. Because Madian is the beginning of his life as Prophet Musa. This new chapter. And that's why I said to you all, and Brother Yazan was praying, I want him to hear because he's memorizing, like each page of Qasas is like a new chapter. It's subhanAllah, it's like chapter, like the palace, and I want the chapter of Madian. Like each page is like a chapter. It's so amazing. Like exactly. So they say that when he made this dua and he ran out in the direction of Madian, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this like light, this beaming light, just like illuminate his way to Madian, they say. So, and they also say that Abu Malik says that the Pharaoh had sent people after Musa alayhi salam, and he commanded them. He sent, his evil people, his army, his troops. Yeah, his troops. I like that one. Yeah. He sent his troops. He sent his troops out to get Musa, and he told them, search for him along every single mountain pass, for Musa does not know the way. Pharaoh went, go get him. Look for him everywhere. He doesn't know the way. You're going to get him. Similar to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quraysh had a bounty on the Prophet. It's the same story. Wallahi, it's the same story. Quraysh had a bounty on the Prophet's head of 100 camels. 100 camels, they say, is about $1 million. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he runs out of Mecca. At the time he runs out of Mecca, we all know the story. Come on. Sayyidina Ali, he sleeps in his bed. Because they're out to kill the Prophet now. And it's so similar. And Allah grants the Prophet this story so he can console his heart. And he goes the same way Musa escaped the Pharaoh and his troops. Where you're going to escape Quraysh and the bounty that they have over your head. So he said, search for him in every single mountain pass. He doesn't know the way. And it's said that an angel came to Musa riding a horse. They say that Allah sent an angel. You could believe this or not. It's tafsir. They say that an angel came to Musa alayhi salam on a horse. And he came carrying a staff called Al-Anza. Musa alayhi salam's staff, Musa's famous staff. The staff of Musa is so famous. It's in the story of Musa. He throws it. Allah saved Bani Israel. This staff is a big staff. It's important to understand it has significance to it. So they say this angel came after Musa made this beautiful dua on a white horse, galloping to Musa, and it gave him Al-Anza. Al-Anza is the name of Moses' staff. They say that the proper opinion and the more correct opinion is that that's not how he got the staff. But this is narrated, so I bring it to you all. Like you said, you could take it or you could leave it. They say that the more proper opinion is that when he got to Midian, we're going to get there today, and he was getting married, he made that staff himself out of branches from Midian so he could herd his flock when he got a job, or it was gifted to him by the pious man that's going to marry him one of his daughters. They say that's a more correct opinion than this. Anyway, they say Allah sent an angel to Musa with his staff, and the angel said to Musa, follow me. So Musa then followed him, and the angel guided him to the path or to the way of Midian. The Quran says when he faced and he went toward Midian, he made dua to Allah for Allah to grant him the greatest or the most upright way. وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ ووجد من دونهم امرأتين تذودان قال ما خطبكما قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. Next ayah is, and when Musa alayhi salam came to the water of Midian, he found a group of people watering their flock. And when Musa reached, Allah calls it وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ. He calls it the water of Midian, okay? He found a group of people watering their flocks / their herds. There's a bunch of guys from the Bedouins. Their hands are all rough. Their palms are not soft. Their palms are rough, and they're strong men. Their hands are huge. You ever seen a Saidi guy? You know. I say this so you can understand like how it was, because God says, and he came, he saw a bunch of people watering their flock. وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امرأتين تذودان. He finds amongst these guys and their flocks 2 girls, 2 women. امرأتين تذودان. تذودان means they're not amongst them. They're shy and they're to themselves and they're holding their flock, right? قال ما خطبكما. So Musa goes up to them and he says, what's up? He says, ما خطبكما. He says, what is your sha'n? He goes, what's up with you guys? He means in a very respectful way. What do you have to say? Let me see what the translator said. What is the matter? He said, what is the matter? They replied, قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء. They say, we cannot water our flock, we cannot water our herd until حتى يصدر الرعاء, until the other people. A ra'i is a shepherd. A ri'a is a plural. Ri'a. Jama. Of ra'i is ri'a. He said, we can't water our flock until the other herders water their flocks, right? وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. And our father, and they end off by saying, and our father is a big sheikh. Not a sheikh of a masjid, but Shaykhun Kabir means an old man. Shaykh, linguistically, in the Arabic language, means الشيخ في اللغة العربية من طعن في السن. It's a person who reached old age. So they say, and our father is an old man. So we have a scene now. Musa alayhi salam, you have to picture like this, because Quran doesn't give you every single detail, but you could fill in the blanks. Like I say all the time, we could color the coloring book, right? Musa, he leaves Egypt and he's disheveled and he's lost and he's scared. I would picture in my head that he's so scared and anxious that he doesn't have an appetite to eat. He doesn't have food to eat, but he has no appetite to eat. Because when you're scared and you don't know, if you ever are put in a position in your life where you don't know how it is going to be tomorrow, it's a scary position to be put in. That's why when you sit down for 2 years, you open your phone like this in the comfort of your AC, and you open your phone like this after you eat a meal, right? And then you go and you look, and then you see that the people of Gaza, like every day, I was thinking all the time, in Gaza every single day, they're getting bombed. They were getting bombed for 2 straight years. Like you can only imagine something called anticipation, because there were so many times where they were having delegations and what's a mufawwadat in English? Negotiations. Thank you so much. There were so many times where they were having negotiations about Gaza. It was so many times over the 2 years, so many times. And every time I read news about negotiations, all I could think was that poor person in Gaza is sitting there. Of course, they don't give any more about negotiations because they're so tired of the war. But just think about the anticipation that you're in when you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And I say this because I had a friend of mine, I think I mentioned him before here. He was from Gaza. He studied with us in Al-Azhar. He was a linguist. He's a muhaqqiq. He has many books that he published. He's from Beit Lahiya, which is northern Gaza. And I met him in Egypt, in Cairo. We don't have the same sheikh. He has a couple of publications. And he kept posting about his situation, right? And he became famous, by the way, because Al Jazeera would repost his posts, or they'll share it on Al Jazeera, because He would post pictures and sometimes, but there would be months that went by where he wouldn't post. There would be months that would go by where he wouldn't post. So I would talk to my other friends from Nigeria and Mali and Sudan that we were all friends together. I'm like, did you hear from Hamza? Did you hear from Hamza Abu Tuha? Did you hear from him? And he would come out with the post. Alhamdulillah, he survived, by the way. Abu Tuha. He survived, by the way. He survived. He had a library. His library got destroyed. He took a picture of his destroyed library. And he put up many sad statuses talking about how hungry he was and how he's so hungry he can't even sleep from the hunger because he feels like his body is eating itself. I was just thinking of his situation, like every single day he's sitting and he's waiting in anticipation. Anticipating something, it's nerve-wracking. You know, you have someone, he says, I'm going to take the MCAT. I say, when is your MCAT? He goes, in 2 months. Wallahi, the 2 months before his MCAT, wallahi, he does not sleep. What do you mean? What do you mean, wallahi, Shaykh, he does not sleep? What do you mean, wallahi? I mean, he doesn't sleep one day good sleep. How are you going to sleep good sleep if you have a big 9-hour exam in 2 months? How are you going to sleep good? After the MCAT, he's going to sleep for a week. Ashab al-Kahf, Noam, good Noam. He's going to have a good sleep. But how could you sleep good if you have something around the corner? Someone has court. Someone's in jail. He has a court date set. They changed the court date 4 times on him. He doesn't sleep until the court date is over. He does not sleep. What do you mean he doesn't sleep? He doesn't sleep good sleep. How could you sleep good? How could you sleep with raha if you have to give a khutbah in 4 hours? How can you sleep? Every Jum'ah, I try to take a nap. Every Jum'ah for 3 years, no nap. How you sleep? Something big on your head, anticipation, how you sleep. How you sleep with something on in your head. How you sleep? You can't sleep. You sleep after Jum'ah. Sleep after the big event. You got to give a public speaking class. That's all examples of anticipation. The greatest form of anticipation and fear is not knowing where you're going. Not knowing where you're going, but having reliance upon Allah. Not knowing how you're going to eat. What are you going to eat? Forget marriage. I think marriage was the last thing on Musa's mind ever. It was about food. He was hungry. Marriage can't be on his mind. But then Allah is amazing. And when Allah gives, He gives in a miraculous way. He gives nice. Allah is rich. You know? So Musa, he goes out and he reaches this, as Allah calls it, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ. When he reaches the water of Madian. And the scholars say it means the well. A well. That was in Madian. He finds a group of people watering their flock. And we understand from this that they were men, right? And it seems like they weren't, I don't know, Allah Alam, but it seems like they weren't so nice because if there's 2 girls shyly waiting, they didn't help them. And the scholars say it's okay to understand from this that they were not nice, they were coarse. They were dry, they didn't help the girls. So Musa alayhi salam, this stranger, he walks up and he sees them. Musa alayhi salam, this strong stranger. Musa alayhi salam was very strong. So he sees them and he went up to them out of curiosity, but out of sincerity and out of goodness. He says, "Ma khatbukuma." He goes, "What's the matter?" And they said, "Qalata." They both said. So we understand that there's 2 of them because it's a dual tense. "La nasqi hatta yusdir al-ri'a wa abuna shaykhun kabir." They say we can't do saqi. We can't water our flock until they all finish, and our dad is an old man. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ فَقَالَ رَبِّي إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٍ. We're going to memorize this dua as homework. We're going to memorize, I'm not saying memorize the surah, I'm saying memorize this dua as homework, and I'm going to pick on someone randomly next class. This is very easy. 4 words. قَالَ رَبِّي, everyone, رَبِّي إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٍ. You're going to make this dua from the bottom of your heart, from the pit of your stomach. Make it in sujood, make it after sujood, make it after salah, make it when you break your fast, make it when you're driving to work, make it when you're driving home from work, make it when you wake up, make it when you're tossing and turning in bed. Make this dua all the time. This dua should be wet on your tongue. This is an amazing dua. This dua is phenomenal. Musa does not ask Allah for anything specific. He says, "Oh my Lord," look what the translation is, "Oh my Lord, indeed I am for whatever good you would send down to me in need." قال ربي إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. Musa was starving. His feet were pulsing. His feet were pulsing from hurt because he's been walking for 8 days. His stomach was inside out from hunger. They narrate that his stomach was green from the amount of leaves he was eating because he was eating green leaves. Allah alam. I think they're trying to make a point saying he turned green. His complexion was green from all the leaves he was in the grass. He was eating leaves and grass. He had nothing to eat. He was starving. He didn't say, "Ya Allah, food, Ya Allah, marriage, Ya Allah," nothing. All he said was, he was humble to God, and he portrayed to Allah, or he relayed to Allah his state. And he told Allah, like he said it like, "It's up to you, God. Anything you give me, that Anything you give me, any good you give me, I'm good for. Anything good you give me, anything, oh Allah, you give me, I'm good for. He does not stipulate. Smart guy, wallahi smart, alayhi salam, smart guy. Because Allah came in ultimate, amazing fashion. And when you ask Allah, they say, when you ask Allah, you ask Allah. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا سَأَلْتُمُ الْجَنَّةِ فَاسْأَلُوهُ الْفِرْدَوْسِ. If you ask Allah for Jannah, you don't ask Allah for Jannah. You say, oh Allah, grant me Firdaus. And the Prophet goes, فَإِنَّ أَوْسَطَهَا وَأَعْلَاهَا وَمِنْهَا تَنْبَثِقُ أَنْهَارُ الْجَنَّةِ. The Prophet, he goes, no, if you ask God for Jannah, don't ask for Jannah. Jannah is Jannah. Ask for the best part of Jannah. If you ask God for steak, say, no, I want a ribeye steak. Medium, like God is great, God is rich, and Allah will grant you anything you want. So when you ask Allah, do not be cheap in your ask. Don't be cheap in your ask. You ask Allah for the highest level of Jannah, the middle part, the middle and the highest most part. So he says, oh my Lord, indeed I am, for whatever good you would send down to me in need. And they say that this dua came right after a pious act that he did that was sincere for the sake of Allah. He did not help the girl for her Instagram name. He did not help the girl to get her number. He did not help the girl for anything, for any alternative motive. He had no alternative intentions. And that's why, before we started today's class, we said, Ya Allah, we renew our intentions. Sometimes you have to renew your intention with your tongue, even if you know you're not really sincere, like you fake it until you make yourself sincere. Even sometimes you have to say, Ya Allah, I'm coming to the masjid for your sake. Ya Allah, I'm going to the masjid to learn Quran. Like renew your intention all the time. The believer is the one that has an internal conflict and an internal battle with his niyyah all the time. And I say this again and again to make a point. It should not get to the point where it deters you from doing good. It should not get to the point where it deters you from going to the masjid. If you have an internal conflict, and the internal conflict with your intention deters you or stops you from going to the masjid, this is something called wiswas. This is too much. This is shaitanic. How are you going to not go to the masjid, brother? You fight that off. But the believer should be someone who constantly renews his intention, because that's a sign of sincerity. It's a sign of iman and sincerity that you're thinking always why you're doing something. Oh, why am I going to the masjid? I'm going for your sake, oh Allah. Even if you don't really feel it in the bottom of your heart, you fake it until you make it. You say it on your tongue until you feel it in your heart. You have to do this always. Ya Allah, we're here for your sake. Ya Allah, we come to the masjid, we make wudu for your sake, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we inconvenience ourselves. We go out of comfort of the house. You say, Shaykh, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to watch it on the live feed. May Allah bless you and bless your 50-inch TV. Allah increase you and everything. Come to the masjid, feel the carpet on your sole of your feet. It's nice, man. Come see other people, it's nice, man. Dress up and make wudu and leave the house. Receive something called ajr and thawab. Go out of your way for God a little bit. You know, we're talking with roughness out of love. We talk with roughness out of love. Of course, you understand it's cold, brother. I get it. You could watch it from home, no problem. I don't think I ever in my life attended a class or watched something live from home and it hit. How can it hit? In order for it to hit, you have to come to the mosque and stub your toe on your way up the stairs. You got to go through some difficulty, right? You got to go through some difficulty. You got to park the car and hit the car by accident. Pray to God no one saw you. You practice your parallel parking. I mean it so much. Wallah, I mean it so much. Like, wallah, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like, how could you taste the leather of something? How can you taste the deliciousness of Quran or the deliciousness of ilm without putting in effort? Without exerting, no, you will never taste it. You'll never taste it. You never taste something watching it on YouTube or watching it or having a Skype call with your sheikh. No, man, what is that? You have to go to your sheikh's house, knock the door, feel awkward for 5 minutes, waiting outside, sweating. The fly keeps coming on your face until he opens the door. He opens the door, he goes, give me 1 more minute. He calls his wife to get dressed, like, oh, it's so awkward. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's all fi sabil al-Quran. It's all good. You come to, Shaykh, which masjid are you doing it in? I'm doing Masjid Younis. Oh, it's a bit far. Oh, where do you live? Clifton. I look up Clifton to Younis, it's 14 minutes. It's far? Yeah, it's farther than 2 minutes. It's farther than 4 minutes. Exert some effort, bro. It's a mujahada. We cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. We have creme de la creme here, cream of the crop. We bring out the good. You know, not to say Masjid Younis is better than another masjid, you know, but we bring out good because you come street parking, cold, people staring at you outside. It's not like comfortable. You're out of your comfort zone. You come, you know, you pass a couple of neighborhoods that don't look so appealing, you know, you know. It's all good, man. It's all for the sake of the Quran. You want to come sit on the floor and feel the carpet, touch your feet. It's amazing. There's nothing like it. And then it hits. When you exert effort for something, it remains and it lasts forever. This is something I learned in my life. When you exert effort for something, when you put in effort towards something, When you put in effort towards memorization, more specifically memorization, but anything in the world, that thing remains forever, you don't forget it. When you make a mistake in front of the sheikh and you feel embarrassed, or I pick on you and I say, what is it? And you don't know, and then she gets it or he gets it after you, you'll never forget it. You don't forget that which you were embarrassed from. You don't forget it. You don't forget it. Yeah, that's how you learn. That's how you learn, exertion of effort. But this is really beautiful because Musa alayhi salam, he does a sincere, beautiful, noble act for these two girls he does not know. He had no alternative motive. He had no alternative intention. He went, فَسَقَى لَهُمَا ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الذِّلِّ. He goes, he gave their pasture a drink. He gave their flock a drink, and he drunk them. He gave them, he watered their flock. He watered their flock for them, and he walked over to the shade. The scholars of tafsir say, we learn that this was at the hottest point of the day. It was at dhuhr timing, dhahira. It was at the hottest point of the day. The sun was in kabd al-sama, and that's why he walked over to the shade. Because if it was at maghrib, he wouldn't have walked over to the shade. Right? Now they go and they say, how is it that he watered the flock for them? There's a couple of narrations. One of them is, and I like this one because it makes Musa sound really macho and strong, is that he was very strong. He was very strong, and he strong-manned his way in, between the guys. Like he made, of course, respectfully, I don't think he hit anybody, but he made his presence known, and he made his strength known, and he walked through the crowd of the men with the big palms and the rough palms, right? And he goes up in front of all of them, and he gets water for them. They say that he only needed to bring up one bucket of water because Allah blessed that bucket for him and made it a lot of buckets. We know this from the Sunnah of the Prophet. There's many stories of the Prophet ﷺ doing one thing or giving water to like 100 people or food. It's called barakah, divine blessings. So they say that Musa had one bucket, and that one bucket was enough for the flock of the girls and everything. The other narration is that there was a large boulder / stone / rock that was covering the well. And there was two wells. One well with these guys, and the other well that was covered with a large boulder that needs 10 men. That needs 10 men to remove. So he walked over to the other well that was being unused, and he removed the boulder that needs 10 men, and he picked it up, also a sign of strength. The other narration is the men finished or something, and there was a boulder on that same well, and he moved the boulder, but this boulder thing kept coming up, and all the tafsirs I was reading, it kept coming up, that there was a large boulder, and he moved the boulder. So he said this because he had not tasted food for 7 days. The scholars of tafsir, they say that this dua came from the pit of his stomach. They say that he made this dua. Oh Allah, I'm good for anything good you give me, right? Because he had not tasted food for 7 days, and his stomach had clung to his back from hunger. His stomach had clung from his back from hunger. It means he was so hungry. The Prophet ﷺ, when they were digging the trench, in the battle of the trench known as Al-Khandaq, known as Ghazwat al-Ahzab, when they were digging the trench around Medina to fortify the city of Medina, they say the Prophet was so hungry that he tied rocks to his stomach. Because when you're so hungry, you have something called ails or pains of hunger pains. In order to get the hunger pains off of his mind, he tied rocks to his stomach to feel another type of pain. I understand this. One time I had an issue in Egypt. I had a gallbladder problem. It was so painful. I wanted to get hurt somewhere else to get my mind off the pain in my stomach. Because I wanted to take a knife and cut my stomach open. I can't do that. I was in so much pain. And I didn't know what it was from. And it wouldn't go away. So I started punching the wall. And I made but it was good because I needed pain here. I'm just trying to give an example of what it means. You need to get the pain somewhere else so you get your mind off the extreme pain that you're going through. Right? So they said he hadn't tasted food for 7 days. And his stomach had clung to his back from hunger. Yet he merely hinted at his need through dua, and he did not explicitly ask for food. So Musa alayhi salam, he makes dua for anything good. And Allah responds to him with this next ayah. فَجَاءَتْهُ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ قَالَتْ إِنَّ أَبِي يَدْعُوكَ لِيَجْزِيَكَ أَجْرَ مَا سَقَيْتَ لَنَا فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَصَ قَالَ لَا تَخَفْ نَجَوْتَ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Right after he makes this dua, فَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ فَتَفِيدُ التَّعْقِيب. The word fa, it didn't say وَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا. Allah says فَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا. They say the fa here means that one of them immediately came. Like right after he's done making the dua, a girl is coming back. One of them came back to him. تمشي على استحياء. Allah characterizes for us the walk of the girl as a shy walk. She came walking on shyness. She came with a walk of modesty. She came walking bashfully. She came and she was shy / modest / bashful. She had haya. Haya is a very good characteristic to have for men and for women. Haya equals modesty. Haya means when you speak with haya. Haya means when you dress with haya. Haya means when you interact with haya. Al-haya'u, the Prophet ﷺ says haya is a part of faith. Haya is a part of faith. They say that haya is more innate in women. And if a woman lacks haya, it's a problem. A woman is inclined to be modest, inclined naturally. You see, in society today, we find a lot of females that are not characterized with the characteristic of haya. We say this is going against the way God created them. This is not normal. But when you live in a society where everyone is abnormal and you're normal, you seem abnormal and you think you're going crazy. If you live in a society and you dressed modestly, aka hijab and jilbab, and everyone around you is not dressed like that at all, on the contrary, it's the extreme opposite, you start to feel like you are strange. Wallahi, you're not strange, you're normal. That's why you have to have strong iman. You have to have good friends. This is why you have to have strong iman. You have to. And you have to have good friends who can direct you and keep you steadfast. Direct you to good, always direct you to good and keep you steadfast. Because if you don't have good friends to direct you to good and to help keep you steadfast, you're going to drown. You're going to drown in the flood of Noah. You're going to drown and get taken away by the flood of Noah. You're going to drown in the flood. You need to be in good environments with good people in order for you to maintain sanity. So your friends all wear hijab and jilbab with you, and you all know that you're normal. Because we live in crazy timings. The person who does halal now and does not do haram is the weird person. The person who doesn't look at filth, or doesn't talk filth, or doesn't intake filth, or doesn't interact with filth is the weird one. Oh, are you okay? Are you normal? No, brother, I'm normal. Are you okay? No, are you okay? No, man. You have to have iman in order to overcome this, though. You can't just be like a weak person. You can't just be a weak person in society interacting with everyone and then they just throw you around. No, man, you have to be a proud Muslim. But if you're not firmly based, if your iman is not strong, if your Islam is just cultural, you just took it off the 7-Eleven counter, you just brought it for $2. If your iman is just cultural, you just raised the Muslim, you don't know what Islam is, you just fast Ramadan and like all this, that, you don't know you're not going to feel nothing. You have to feel Islam in your heart. How do you feel Islam in your heart? You come to the masjid, make wudu, read Quran, listen to tafsir, like be active in something good. Be active in something good. You say, oh, Shaykh, I don't like the masjid, they always speak Arabic. Brother, go to the masjid that speaks English, brother. Oh, I don't like the masjid that smells like this. Go to the masjid that doesn't smell like that. Like, come on, man, exert some effort. There's 20 masjids in a 5-mile radius. Like, we live in a Muslim country. Wallahi. Paris and Jersey, Muslim country. Yeah? After Mecca, Medina, it's Aqsa and Paris, right? Oh, I'm so serious, though. You have to exert effort in order to maintain iman. No, but we live in a scary time where you think you're not normal when you are normal. No, you have to remind yourself this. And like I said, you having knowledge, you having iman, you having good uplifting friends, this is what grants you the ability to combat evil. You need to combat evil with goodness, you know? So right after he makes dua sincerely, after he does a pious action, we learn from this but there's so many lessons and takeaways. But a time where it's where your dua is answered. A time where your dua is something called mustajab, which means answered more, is after an act of ta'ah, after an act of obedience. After salah, they say we make dua after salah, right? Dua aqib salah is sunnah. Dua after, subhanallah, I went to Hajj this past year and it was amazing. Wallahi, it was my first Hajj ever and I was so happy to go. I was calling it, in my Hajj group I was making a joke. I'm like, well, it's not Hajj, it's dua fest. This is dua fest. The Hajj is all dua. Arafah dua, Muzdalifah make dua, Mina make dua. Dua, Jamarat dua, after Jamarat dua, Safa wal Marwa dua, Zamzam dua. Like Hajj is just, it's dua, it's all dua. I was like, yo, this is just dua. It's just dua all the time. And I was like, oh, it's just a dua fest. Kuffar have beer fest, they have garbage fest, they have alcohol fest, they have zina fest. We have dua fest. We have salah fest. We have good, like, come on, man. هل يستويان مثلا. Can you even compare the two? Can you even compare the two? Wallahi, obedience to Allah, cleanliness, ihram, being a good Muslim, dressing in hijab and jilbab, dressing in a modest way, going to the masjid, making ghusl for Jum'ah, making ghusl after you're impure, making wudu after you lose your wudu. There's nothing. You can compare it to garbage and filth. So she comes up to him and she says, she's walking in a way of modesty as Allah describes her, in a modest way. They say this means she was dressed properly and she was shy. قالت إن أبي. We learned from the ayah before this that her dad was old. And her dad was old, so he had them going out to get the water. So the scholars derived from that ayah the permissibility of, like they say that there are scholars differ on who the man was exactly. Some say he was a prophet, some say he was a pious man, but he let his daughters go out. They said, first of all, this was the norm of the Bedouins, that if someone can't go, the girls will go out and get it. But then they also said there's nothing wrong with the girl that upholds Sharia to go out and interact in society. This is a dalil that they use, that he sent his daughters to go get it. So one of them comes back to Musa. And I understand from this that, Allahu Alam, but I understand from this that they didn't have brothers maybe, or the dad was really old, you know? So she comes back and she tells him, قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت. My father is inviting you so he can reward you, so he may reward you for watering our flock for us. فلما جاءه وقص عليه القصص. So then when Musa went to the dad, Allah skips, right? Allah skips, and this is then when Musa got to the dad and he told him the story, or the whole story of what happened. قال لا تخف. He said, don't worry. نجوت من القوم الظالمين. They say that when the girl came to Moses and she said, come, my dad is inviting you so he could give you the reward for watering our flock, that Musa was not going to accept the invitation. He was not going to. Why is that? They say because Musa alayhi salam was very sincere when he watered the flock. He did not water the flock for a reward. He wants a reward with Almighty God. He wanted the pleasure of Allah. He did not want a reward. He did not want money or anything. He didn't even want recognition. So now when she comes back and she says, my dad is inviting you, his sincerity feels, or his action feels tainted, because now he's getting recognition and he's so embarrassed because he doesn't want recognition. He wants 100% sincere action for Allah. But then the scholars went and they said, but then he accepted the invite because he was starving. He accepted the invite. He said, I'm going to accept it now. Like, I'm hungry. Like, no, but like, wallahi, this is so beautiful that they said that he didn't want to accept it because he doesn't want a reward. He doesn't want recognition. He wanted it to be strictly for Allah, right? So he accepts the invite and he goes to the house. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ. And then when he came to him, when Moses came to him and told him of his whole story, قَالَ لَا تَخَافْ. He said, do not be worried. Do not be scared. نَجَوْتَ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. You have been saved from the wrongdoing people. I could picture it like he walks in the house and he was so scared. He was like so like tired. He was so hungry. And he's walking into a nice house and they're cooking like dinner. And there's like 7 girls, like all sisters, and like it's like a lively house and they have like sheep outside. Just think about safety after like all those days he was sleeping, you know, but he was sleeping like outside, by the way. He was sleeping, probably didn't get good sleep for 7 days. I could only imagine he was starving, not only starving, tired, exhausted. Desert temperatures at night are cold. Not only they're cold, if you're sleeping outside in a desert, there's something called scorpions or snakes or hyenas. I don't know. It's scary. It's very scary. Like it's scary. And he was sleeping all those days without it. No, you have to think of it like that. Then he finally goes into the house of the guy and the guy tells him, don't be worried. You're saved now? Man, I would feel great. I'll just cry and hug him. Thank you so much. I feel the love. Then they say this man. Who is this man? Who is this man? The scholars of tafsir, they have this opinion that was Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam. وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرَهُ. Right? Allah says in the Quran multiple times, in Surah A'raf, in Surah Hud, in Surah Ankabut, many times. Whenever Allah mentions the story of Madian, Allah says, into Madian, we sent them Shu'aib. So Shu'aib is the known prophet of Madian. So the scholars of tafsir, especially the early scholars, they say that this man was Shu'aib. But later scholars of tafsir say no, it was not, and this has no percentage or no amount of authenticity to it. They just say they ran with that because Shu'aib was known to be from Madian. They say that Shu'aib alayhi salam and Musa were from very different time periods. Some of them calculated to be 400 years different. But Shu'aib is known to be from Madian. And the reason why this opinion is popularized in tafsir books, because many tafsir scholars say it was Shu'aib, it was Shu'aib. Like, you know, tafsir scholars, they do something, and it's not plagiarism, it's just natural. They do something called copy and paste. Because if he's taking something from an earlier scholar, the earlier scholar is going to say Shu'aib, he's going to say, and they say it was Shu'aib, and they say it was Shu'aib, right? But sometimes a scholar comes and he stands out and he does some own research on something, you know? So they say the stronger opinion, logically speaking, is not Shu'aib. That's an opinion. They mention Shu'aib. Another opinion, they say it's Shu'aib's cousin. They say Shu'aib's cousin or his nephew. Some guy from Madian. We say that, inshallah, the correct opinion is that he's not Shu'aib. Perhaps he's related to him somehow, perhaps, no problem. But we say he's a pious man from Madian. Al-Rajul al-Salih min Madian. This man, we're going to refer to him as, he's the pious man from Madian. So they say that he offered Musa alayhi salam food. He offered Musa food when he got there. He offered Musa a meal. And he was cooking the meal and Musa was starving. And Musa says, no, I will not eat. I don't want reward for what I did. He's trying to remain firm on his principle of, I did this for the sake of God. And he said, oh, this is not a reward, brother. This is our custom. So we find the generous with the generous. Sometimes you find the cheap with the cheap. It's a bad combination. Someone cheap, he's with someone cheaper. What are you going to get? No, I'm not hungry today. I'm not feeling anything. You start ordering and he starts to eat from your fries and your food. What, brother? I thought you were hungry. Brother, you go with someone cheap, you be the better person, just buy the person a meal because he's going to end up eating your food. You'd rather share, like be generous. Like cheap with cheap, bad combination. Cheap with generous, the cheap person thinks he's winning, but he's losing because the cheap person never wins. The cheap person never wins. You have someone who's cheap, he doesn't go on the parkway, he goes, no, it takes toll. He ends up getting stuck in traffic for 4 hours, he misses the whole thing. Brother, stop. Yeah, so Musa is generous, his heart is generous, and Shu'aib is generous, and Shu'aib's heart is generous. Shu'aib says, no, this is not a reward for anything. This food is just our custom. We are Bedouins. We feed anyone who comes to our house with whatever, you know. So they say, who were the daughters? They say, what were the names of the daughters of Shu'aib / the pious man from Madian? They say these two girls, their names were Leah and Sofriya. It is narrated that the names of the two women were Leah and Sofriya, the daughters of Yithra or Ithra, also known as Shu'aib. قالت إحداهما يا أبتي استأجره إن خير من استأجرته القوي الأمين. Wallah, we did an hour, but we'll do one more ayah. I have 3 more ayahs left, but I know that's going to be another hour. We'll do one more ayah. قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرته القوي الأمين. The daughter, she goes to her dad. One of the 2 daughters said, "Oh my father, hire him, استأجره, hire him. Use him as an ajir, rent him. Indeed the best one, إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. Indeed the best one you can hire for anything is القوي الأمين, is the strong and trustworthy." So one of the daughters goes up to her dad after they're eating this meal, and Musa's starving, and the dad is generous and he's a man, chivalry, manhood, generosity, everything in him. Musa's also a man. They're probably both prophets. Musa's a prophet, probably the other man is a prophet as well. So one of the daughters goes up to the dad and they go, "Dad, hire him. Hire him for your flock. You're old. Hire him for your flock. He could do the work that we were doing. It's difficult. Like, give him a job." And then she goes, "Indeed the best one you can hire is," she characterizes Musa with 2 things. Al-Qawi al-Amin, the strong and trustworthy. Her father asked her, and it was narrated that the dad said, "And how do you know of his strength and his trustworthiness?" The father asked her, "And how do you know of his strength and his trustworthiness?" She said, "As for his strength, he lifted a stone from the mouth of the well that only 10 men, and some would say 40 men, could lift." Like we said in the one opinion that there was a stone covering the mouth of the well. She said he lifted the stone that 10 people need, that only it takes 10 people to lift. He lifted it, so he's strong. And then she said, "As for his trustworthiness," why is he trustworthy? She said, "He told me, he commanded me when she came to call him, she said, my dad is calling you, right? God knows where she lives. How's Musa going to know where she lives? She has to show him the way. She said that when he told me, walk behind me. They say that they were walking. And the wind moved her garment, so he saw her figure. And he wanted to lower his gaze because he's a pious man that loves God. And he only loves halal. And he doesn't want to look in an improper way. So they say when the wind blew on her garment, she was modest, she was dressed properly, he was able to see her figure. So he told her, hey, sister, please come here, walk behind me. And he said, if I go wrong, if I make a wrong turn, let me know. And in another narration of the story, they said that he told her, if I make a wrong turn, throw a pebble to the right side. He said, don't even raise your voice. Don't even raise your voice. If I make a wrong turn, throw a pebble to tell me where to go. So she took a bunch of pebbles, and when it's right, she would throw right here, and he'd go right. So he walked in front of her. She goes, as for trustworthiness, he told me, walk behind me so that the wind does not reveal your body, and if I do stray from the path, drop a small stone so that I can know the way and I'll be guided to the right way. So when she says that hire him, indeed the best one to hire is the strong and trustworthy. They say, Imam Abdurrahman al-Sa'di, Ibn Nasr al-Sa'di, he's a famous mufassir. He said this fire point is so amazing. This means that Musa was the most deserving to be hired, as he combined the two greatest qualities. Any ajir, any person that you hire or any person that you ask for any task could be asked. There's two characteristics they say that it makes you the best employee or the best person to do something for someone. It's to be strong, so you can complete the task that you're being asked to do, so you have strength to do it, and you're trustworthy. You're ameen. You don't steal from the register. You don't steal from the counter. You're trustworthy. That's why, if you have any friends that own a business, you'll realize sometimes they have a worker there. You don't know why they're working there, but then you get it. They're very trustworthy. That's why they keep them, because they're very trustworthy. Trustworthiness, it cancels out smarts. What good is it to have a smart employee who's a liar? What good is it to have someone who's smart and he's not trustworthy? He steals from the register. What good is it? So the best worker one can hire is the one who possesses both strength and the ability to perform the task, and honesty and integrity to avoid betrayal. These two qualities are essential for anyone to do any kind of job. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that أفرس الناس ثلاثة. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he has a famous saying, it's a hadith. He says that there are three people who displayed exceptional insight. Three individuals, they displayed something called exceptional insight. He said, Abu Bakr حين تفرس في عمر وصاحب يوسف حين قال أكرمي مثواه وصاحبة موسى حين قالت يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says there was three people that demonstrated the strongest form of insight or farasa. He said Sayyidina Abu Bakr, when he mentioned the character of Umar, before Sayyidina Umar became a Muslim, Abu Bakr was like, only if he were to become a Muslim. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he had force, he saw it. And then he says the companion of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he said أكرمي مثواه وعسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا. Do you guys remember the Aziz? Not the Malik, not the king of Egypt, the Aziz of Egypt, the finance minister of Egypt. Guys, wake up, we're done. This is the last point. I'm not going to go to the next step. This is the last point. So he said to his wife, take Yusuf in and treat him good. Akrimi mithwahu means honor his abode. Treat him with goodness. So Sayyidina Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he said that person was smart when he said that. Abu Bakr was smart when he spoke good about Umar. And also the woman of Musa, when she said, oh my father, hire him, for indeed the best person you can hire is the stronger and trustworthy. These are the three people that they saw good in the people that they were speaking about, and they were right with what they saw. So inshallah we'll stop here, and we'll continue. It's a good stopping part. We'll continue in the next ayah, which is in next class. It's when Musa alayhi salam gets married, and his marriage contract, his aqd al-nikah or his katb al-kitab is mentioned in the Quran by Allah. There's two marriage contracts, not aqd nikah, that are mentioned in the Quran directly. The first one is Musa to Sufriya, or Musa to the daughter of the pious man. What's the second one? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Go on. Good job. I did not expect the Prophet and who? Yeah, yeah. The Prophet ﷺ and Zainab bin Jahash. فَلَمَّا قَضَى مِنْهَا زَيْدٌ وَطْرًا زَوَّجْنَاكَهَا. The Prophet of God, the Prophet Muhammad, was commanded to marry Zainab bin Jahash, direct command from God. And you know, when you go to a kitab in ICPC Patterson, Shaykh Qatalani, he sits here and the dad sits here and he says, repeat after me. And then he goes, he says the words, I give you my daughter, so and so, right? And they say, Ameen, Ameen. Oh, this is aqd nikah. It's a vow with your tongue. The person who married the Prophet to Zainab was Allah Himself. فَلَمَّا قَضَى زَيْدٌ مِنْهَا وَطَرًا زَوَّجْنَاكَهَا. They say that this ayah is, we married her to you. This is Allah marrying the Prophet. Allah became married to Zainab with the ayah. Allah became married to Sayyidina Zainab with this ayah. Allah married him and Sayyidina Zainab. But the second marriage is this one. Which one comes first in the Mus'haf? Which one comes first? Zainab? What were you going to say? Okay, that's good. Where's that? So which one comes first? Yeah, go on. You said Zainab comes first? 32nd surah comes first before the 28th? Yeah. Yeah, so the first one that's mentioned is Musa alayhi salam and the daughter of the pious man. And the second one is Zainab and the Prophet sallallahu Surah Al-Ahzab. So these are two marriage contracts. So inshallah we'll continue from the 27th ayah in the next class. We ask Allah to grant us understanding and wisdom, and to grant us beneficial knowledge, and to grant us love for the Quran, and to grant us immaculate etiquette. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be with our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and to aid them over their oppressors. And we ask Allah to be with our brothers and sisters in Sudan. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Assalamu alaikum.